The South Shore's morning news continues now on 95.9 WATD.
Good morning. The South Shore's morning news rolls on, and it's time now for our South Shore Chamber of Commerce segment. We do it every week at this time. Tim Cahill is the president and CEO of the South Shore Chamber of Commerce. He joins us in studio, and of course, you can see him up on our WATD YouTube feed, WATD Radio on YouTube. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Back from a snowmageddon.
Yes.
From last week. So I apologize for not being around.
Blizzard.
But yes, and you got the word out, the news out, which is why the station's so important. Because a lot of people lost their internet. They maybe went back to the old handheld radio, listening to it.
A lot of people, they were doing that. They have these crank radios as well that people like. That was the week that was. Brought back some memories, I know, for a lot of people of storms they have survived in the past. Hopefully, though, spring is ahead.
Yeah, we've forgotten what it's like to get snow. Now we remembered. Now we've been reminded. So we're back in business. We just took Monday off, and we're back on Tuesday, and we've had a great week, and I'm excited about our guest, Tim O'Connor, from, is it Marjiam CFO Service.
Correct.
So a CFO?
Yes.
Correct. So Tim's going to talk about the business of outsourced CFOs, which is a very important business. We have one at the South Shore Chamber.
Oh, okay.
And it's definitely a wave of the future, especially for small businesses. But I'll let Tim talk about it a little bit more, about how he does it and why you should consider it.
Sure, that's great. Sure. Well, welcome, Tim. Good to see you, Tim O'Connor, and it's Marjiam CFO Service. Okay, so tell me the story about what inspired you to start the business in the first place. You started your own business.
I did, yes. So I was in public accounting for about 33 years, a little bit more, and I had just basically I was tired of it. It is busy season all year long, it gets tiresome. Yeah. So I wanted to do something different, and I just sort of noticed there was a need from my clients where they need a little bit more in-depth work on their understanding their financials and understanding their business. And with public accounting, there's such a labor shortage now, that they're really focused on compliance work, but it's hard for people to get into the details and tell the story of what's going on with the business. So that's kind of what prompted me.
Yeah, because you were working with some people after you retired from your other job, and then you said this will be great, and you can set up your own company and then also be more selective about your time and the clients and the people you work with. Okay.
Yeah, it was nice. I had some clients, once they learned that I was retiring, they approached me and said, well, will you come help us? I said, that's an easy fit.
Nobody wants to lose their doctor or their accountant.
No, I know.
It's very nice. It was very pleasing.
It's good to be wanted.
Yes, exactly.
Tim, and they come to you, hat in hand here. Tim, please, help me out. And so it worked out well. So you were able to start your own service, Marjiam CFO Service. And let's talk about to some people out there, because we know we have a lot of business people to listen to this South Shore Chamber segment. What would a small business owner need a fractional or a part-time CFO? Tim Cahill talked about how this seems to be a growing need. So kind of touch upon for people that may not know how it works.
Sure. So what I've kind of noticed, especially with small business owners and family businesses, is you might have one person, usually a relative or a trusted employee, that's wearing all the hats. They're called the office administrator, but they're actually being the bookkeeper, the controller, the CFO, the HR person, and they're kind of overwhelmed. And I noticed that, especially especially the last 10 years. So someone like myself can kind of come in and help them out to kind of understand what's going on. And really the CFO should be able to understand all of those roles and paint a picture, like tell a story about what I'm learning from the information, and give that to the owner so that they can make good business decisions and also make good operational decisions as well. So
that's exactly what we do. That's exactly what our CFO does for us. One day a week he comes in and gives us an overview as both an insider and an outsider, and I think that's what's missing in a lot of companies. You see it from the inside, but you don't see it from a big picture perspective.
That's a great perspective, and that's what I've kind of found too.
Yeah.
The interesting thing I found too is a lot of times having somebody from the outside, sometimes the staff's more willing to talk to you. You know, you're almost like function as a bridge between the employees and the boss. Like people can be a little intimidated by the boss.
You're right.
The
when they're doing everything
you know?
else, you got the same person that's doing that. They also take care of your paycheck, your insurance, your
Correct.
vacation time.
That's it.
It is hard. Now I can see for a lot of families, they want to do everything because they have a feeling that this is going to save money. But this also is I feel, as you said, the person is overwhelmed. You actually end up spending more money and wasting more time sometimes trying to do everything, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Like I'll give you a little example. I had a construction company that I worked with, and they had this line of business that they were actually considering getting rid of. It was a lot of work. It was dirty work. They didn't really like it, and they had all the information. Like the bookkeeper had the information incorrect. The controller had reconciled everything. But they weren't making enough money, and I said, well, it was bid work. I said, well, how many of these bids are you winning? And they didn't really know. So they had all the information, but they didn't really, nobody was really telling them, right?
Yeah.
So we looked into it, and as it turns out, like over the last few years, they had not lost one.
Really?
They had won everything. So I said, guys, like something's, either you're underpriced or you got a monopoly, but we should really think about raising the rates.
Wow.
And it took a little convincing, but they did it, and they didn't lose any way. So, and then they kept doing it. So that's the kind of thing that a CFO, especially from the outside, could bring the expertise in and just say, like, maybe we should look at this and see if there's something we're missing, or maybe there's not anything we're missing. Maybe but it's good to have somebody outside look in and bring a different perspective.
And that person is not necessarily answerable to just the CEO. I mean, if it doesn't work, or you're not taking. He's not taking my advice, or I'm not taking. You can just say, I don't want to do this anymore, know. And if you're not going to listen to me, then it doesn't really make sense. And it's just a little bit of a separation. And again, they're not there every day.
Right.
And sometimes they're not there at all. They do it remotely. You can do it remotely, but you talk to the CEO, and it is a wave of the future, especially as you said, there's a shortage of accountants coming out of school, and the industry is tapped, and maybe someone younger might not know how to do something like this. So
they might not know the question to ask. That's where the experience comes in.
Perfect example. It's not just your books. It's kind of thinking about what business lines to do, where to go, what's working, what's not working, and it gives you a fresh perspective. And I think it's a brilliant model, and I think Tim's going to be busy for a long time. I hope other folks who are decided, hey, I want to get out of the rat race a little bit, or out of the commute, and set up my own business. It's not. I wouldn't say it's an easy transition, but it's a very smooth transition, because a lot of times you have these customers, you already have them. So it's funny, because then you can choose your who you want to work with.
That's nice too. I have to
Instead
say.
of the other way around.
Well, I was going to say,
it's nice when you don't have the managing button to say, hey, bring in the billable hours. Like I gotta deal with this. You know what I mean? So
that's great.
Tough, yeah.
Well, so Marjiam CFO Service. How do people find out about you, Tim? How do they get in touch with you?
So basically, my website, marjiam.com. All my contact information is
Tell
there.
me about the name.
Oh, so the name is, it's actually an ancient Aramaic word, and it means little star of the sea, or some people call it like little pearl of the ocean. And I love the ocean. I live in Hull. I love to fish. I love to be at the beach. So when I read that, I was like, oh, that's perfect, and it's a little different, it's a little quirky, so I like
memorable.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
Once you learn how to pronounce it, which I may still be working on by the time I get back to the office.
Well, I know some people listening want you to spell that out, so why don't you do that, since it is the radio? Spell out Marjiam so people can type it in.
Sure, it's MARJIAM.
Okay.
Marjiam.
MARJIAM.com. There you go. .com. Check it out. Marjiam CFO Service, your trusted partner for CFO services. And Tim O'Connor is the guy who can help you out. And do you just curious, you can, as Tim mentioned, Tim Cahill mentioned, you can do it remotely. Do you like to go in and usually go in and work in the building, or do you do a mix of both, or do you have a preference yourself?
I actually I like to go to the clients. I find, especially like the example I just spoke to, I can only do that remotely. You have to kind of get in and find out what's going on, talk
get to know the people, and the vibe a little bit.
Exactly, especially like when you're talking with the employees, especially around the coffee break room or something like that. You'll get more information, and then you can kind of work with everybody to find out what's really going on, and I think that that drives the value more so than if I'm working remotely, it can work, but you don't have that same interaction. It's harder to figure out what the problems are and how to solve them. In my opinion, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, I like it. All right. Well, Marjiam CFO Service Tim O'Connor with us, and of course Tim Cahill, South Shore Chamber of Commerce, southshorechamber.org. Tim and Tim.
Love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.